Hello everybody. If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short Story 604, Aunt Harriet's Treasure, Homophones 1, Intermediate. My Aunt, Harriet, was a woman of many eccentricities. She ate everything with a spoon, and her cottage, number 8 on the lane, was filled with peculiar trinkets. My brother and I always knew she had a secret, but we aren't quite sure what it was until her passing. She left me a single, cryptic note. The note scrawled handwriting was difficult to read, but it hinted at a treasure hidden in the woods. The first clue read, "The augur will find what the augur foretold." I was stumped. I had no idea what an augur was, let alone an auger. A few hours of searching revealed that an auger is a tool for drilling holes, and an augur is someone who foretells the future. The clue was a riddle, not a direction. I turned to the next line. It mentioned a mistake between an auk and an auk. I'd been on an oar-powered boat with my brother to see a puffin rookery once, which is a type of auk. But an auk? The only ones I knew were in fantasy books. Puzzled, I decided to go on a trip to the cottage. The journey from my flat was long, and as the lorry's axle creaked with every turn, I wondered if I'd ever figure out these clues. Upon arrival, I felt a strange sense of awe. The cottage was exactly as I remembered it. The garden gate was open, and I walked away from the house to the small shed in the back. A small, rusty spade was inside, and next to it, an old, wooden oar. Could this be it? My eye scanned the shed, and I saw a strange symbol carved into the back wall, a small circle with a line through it. Was this the oar? Or something else? I finally understood. The oral hint was in the way my aunt spoke, and the oral tradition of her tales. She'd always told me stories of a treasure at the bottom of the lake, in a boat. The boat's anchor was to be set away with a simple touch. I found the ancient boat and saw that it had an old, broken axle near the front. The boat itself had a crack in the hull, and I had to bail out the water. Then I saw it. A huge bale of wool, sitting by the boat. As I approached, a small auk flew out from the inside of the bale, startling me. The note was right. An auk could be mistaken for an auk if you weren't looking closely. I looked at the hole the auk had flown from. Inside was a small, dusty box. I opened the box to find not gold or jewels, but a collection of old photographs and letters. A letter from my great-grandfather explained that the treasure was the stories and memories they had shared as a family. My aunt had left this legacy for me. The old boat creaked in the wind. I said to myself, smiling. This is a treasure I can appreciate. Vocabulary notes. Eccentricities. Definition: the quality of being unconventional and slightly strange. An eccentricity is often a peculiar habit or mannerism. Example: my aunt, Harriet, was a woman of many eccentricities. Similar words: peculiarities, oddities, quirks, idiosyncrasies. Cryptic. Definition: having a meaning that is mysterious or obscure. Something cryptic is often difficult to understand. Example: she left me a single, cryptic note. Similar words: puzzling, baffling, mysterious, obscure, perplexing. Augur. Definition: a person who foretells the future, a prophet or soothsayer. Note that the homophone auger is a tool for drilling holes, which the story also uses. Example: the augur will find what the augur foretold. Similar words: seer, prophet, soothsayer, oracle. Awe. Definition: a feeling of reverential respect mixed with wonder or amazement. It is a powerful emotion that can be inspired by something grand, beautiful, or powerful. Example: upon arrival, I felt a strange sense of awe. Similar words: wonder, amazement, reverence, astonishment, wonderment. Legacy. Definition: something that is a result of events in the past, or something handed down from an ancestor or predecessor. Example: my aunt had left this legacy for me. Similar words: inheritance, bequest, heritage, tradition. Story written by Gemini Pro AI. Image created by Imagio AI. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. CC Music, Drifting at 432 Hz, Unicorn Heads.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a family mystery where the key to finding a hidden treasure isn't a map, it's a sound. This is the story of Aunt Harriet's final and most brilliant puzzle. Everything kicks off with this one single line left behind by an eccentric Aunt Harriet. The augur will find what the augur foretold. I mean, at first glance, it sounds like total nonsense, right? But this is our central puzzle. It's a riddle built on two words that sound exactly the same but mean completely different things. And really, that's the big question here, isn't it? This isn't your typical treasure hunt. The map isn't drawn on paper with an X marking the spot. No, this map is made entirely of words that play tricks on your ears. It's made of homophones. Now, to understand the puzzle, you really have to understand the puzzle maker. And Aunt Harriet, well, she was a character. We're talking about a woman who ate literally everything with a spoon and insisted on living at number 8. She was wonderfully peculiar, and it turns out her final message was every bit as unique as she was. The note she left was cryptic, and that word is key here. This wasn't a straightforward set of instructions. It was deliberately mysterious. It was designed to make you think, not just about what the words say, but what they sound like. So the stage is set. Our narrator has this one baffling clue, the promise of some kind of treasure, and only the memories of their quirky aunt to go on. The journey is about to begin. All right, so the investigation starts with the note itself. As our narrator is scratching their head over what an augur and an augur could possibly have in common, they look to the next line, hoping for a clue. But instead, they just find another word puzzle. So what on earth could this possibly mean? A mistake between an auk and an orc. One of those is a bird, and the other, well, it's something you'd find in a fantasy novel. This is where the mystery really starts to get deep.
I mean, just look at the difference here. It's absolutely staggering. An auk is a real seabird, one the narrator actually remembers seeing. An orc, on the other hand, is pure make-believe. They might sound a bit alike if you say them fast, but they could not be from more different worlds.
So, okay, our narrator has a starting point, that memory of the auk. But the orc? That part is completely baffling. It feels like a total dead end, like the clue was just broken or nonsensical. And honestly, that's probably exactly what Aunt Harriet wanted.
Stumped by the note, the narrator figures the only way forward is to actually go to Aunt Harriet's cottage. The story even describes the journey, the sound of a lorry's axle creaking. It really builds the atmosphere as we get closer to the one place where these clues might finally click into place.
So, inside this little shed, the physical search begins. There's a spade. Could that be the auger from the first clue? Maybe. And right next to it, an old wooden oar. Suddenly, the narrator's mind starts racing. Or could that be another sound-alike word pointing to O-R-E, like a valuable mineral? The clues are starting to feel like they connect. And then they see something totally out of place. A gigantic bale of wool just sitting there next to an old boat. Why would that be there? It's just another strange, eccentric detail, just like Aunt Harriet herself.
As the narrator gets closer, a single auk flies right out of a hole in the wool. And in that one single moment, everything makes sense. The riddle wasn't auk and an orc. It was an auk in a bale. An auk in a bale. The entire clue was a massive pun. And right there, inside that very hole the bird flew out of, the narrator finds a small, dusty box.
this has to be it. The end of the hunt, the treasure Aunt Harriet promised. But you have to wonder, what kind of treasure would a woman who talks in riddles actually leave behind? Before we see what's inside, let's just think about this word legacy. A legacy isn't always about money or property, right? It can be a story, a tradition, a collection of memories passed down. And that, it turns out, is exactly what Aunt Harriet had in mind. So no gold, no jewels. The box held the family's real treasure. Old photographs, letters from great-great-grandparents, a whole history of their shared stories. Aunt Harriet didn't leave behind a fortune. She left behind a legacy. So you see, this clever, kind of frustrating but ultimately beautiful puzzle, it wasn't just a game. It was a message. Aunt Harriet used all this wordplay to make sure that only someone who truly listened, who really remembered her stories, could find what she left behind. And in the end, standing there by that old boat, the narrator gets it completely. This collection of memories, this physical connection to the past, that is a far greater treasure than money could ever be. It's a treasure they can truly appreciate. And that really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? Aunt Harriet's story is this brilliant reminder that value isn't always something you can hold. So it makes you wonder, in our own families, in the funny sayings, the old jokes, the stories we hear over and over, what treasures are hidden in there, just waiting for us to listen closely enough to find them?